If I say the words the most technologically advanced country on Earth, what pops into your head? Silicon Valley, probably. Maybe Tokyo or Seoul. Somewhere rich, somewhere huge, right? But what if I told you the real answer is a tiny country of just 1.3 million people, tucked into the freezing corner of the Baltics, that most people couldn't find on a map? A country that, barely 30 years ago, was a bankrupt Soviet ruin where less than half the population even owned a telephone. That country is Estonia, and today it runs the most advanced digital government on the planet. You file your taxes in under 5 minutes. You vote from your laptop, from anywhere on Earth. You start a company in 15 minutes without setting foot in the country. 99% of public services are online. The only things you show up in person for are getting married, getting divorced, and buying property. So how does a country go from Soviet rubble to the world's most sophisticated digital state in a single generation? How did it survive the first cyberwar ever launched against the nation? And what does any of it have to do with you? Let's deconstruct the Estonian miracle. To understand how Estonia pulled this off, go back to 1991 and throw out the assumption that you need money and resources to build the future. Estonia had neither. What it had was a blank slate. And that might be the most valuable thing a country can own. Miss that, and you'll mistake this whole story for they just got lucky with clever people. When the Soviet Union collapsed and Estonia regained independence in 1991, it inherited a mess. An economy in freefall, hyperinflation eating the new currency, crumbling Soviet infrastructure, and less than half the population owning a telephone. It was starting from near zero, staring across the water at wealthy neighbors with a 300-year head start. Most countries in that spot try to catch up, copy the rich world step by step, and slowly close the gap. Estonia's first prime minister, a 32-year-old history teacher named Mart Laar, threw that plan in the bin. And here's the detail that genuinely stopped me. In 1992, Finland offered Estonia its old analog phone network for free as Finland upgraded. A broke country that couldn't afford phones for half its people was handed an entire national phone system for nothing. And Laar said no. Why? Because he refused to build the past. If Estonia was going to spend money it barely had, it would skip the analog era completely and leap straight to digital. That one instinct, leapfrog, don't catch up, became the whole strategy. In 1996 came a program whose name says everything, Tiger Leap. A computer in every school, every classroom online, done by 2001. Kids started coding in first grade. And in 2000, Estonia declared internet access a basic human right, before most of the world had even heard the word broadband. The blank slate everyone had written off as Estonia's great curse turned out to be its single greatest asset. Okay, Estonia went all in on digital early, but plenty of countries have apps and still make you print a form, sign it, scan it, and email it back into the void. What makes Estonia different is the plumbing underneath. 2 pieces of invisible infrastructure that everything runs on. Understand these 2, and the whole machine makes sense. Skip them, and e-government just sounds like a slicker website. The first is the digital identity card. In 2002, every citizen got a mandatory chip card, not the flimsy plastic you shove in a drawer. That chip proves who you are online with bank-grade security, and it lets you sign documents digitally with the exact same legal weight as ink on paper. That single law, digital signature equals handwritten, unlocked everything. Contracts, taxes, prescriptions, voting, all real, all online, no paper backup. The The second has a boring name and a genius design. X-Road, launched in 2001. Picture secure digital pipes connecting every government database, and a lot of private ones like banks and hospitals, so they can talk safely. It runs on the once-only principle. The government is legally forbidden from asking you for information it already has. Tell them your address once, and every agency just has it. And every time an official opens your file, it's logged, and you can see exactly who looked and when. Put those together, ironclad identity, plus data that can actually move, and you get results that sound made up. Taxes, about 3 minutes. A company, about 15. X-Road handles billions of requests a year and saves the equivalent of over 800 working years of bureaucracy, every single year. That, my friends, is what happens when you design a state around the citizens' time instead of the bureaucrats' convenience. Now, the two things no other country has dared to fully copy, because on the surface, they sound completely reckless. One, rewire democracy itself. The other, let total strangers, anywhere on Earth, plug straight into the Estonian state. Both might change how you think about what a country even is. If you're finding this as fascinating as I did, subscribing takes 2 seconds, and the next one of these just lands in your feed. Anyway, the first is internet voting. In 2005, Estonia became the first country on Earth to let citizens cast a legally binding national vote from their own computer. Not a poll, a real election. You log in with your ID card, vote from your sofa, and can even change your vote later, right up to the deadline, to defeat anyone trying to bully you. Today, about a third of Estonian votes are cast online. The second is the wild one, e-Residency. In 2014, Estonia started handing out digital residency to foreigners, people who've never been there and may never go. For a small fee, anyone, anywhere, can become an Estonian e-resident, get that same digital ID, and run a European Union company entirely online. And here's where it touches you specifically. Think about the last time you dealt with your own government. The passport appointment, the tax return that ate an afternoon, the form demanding details you'd already given twice. Now picture this instead. You, right now, wherever you are, could become an e-resident of a country you've never visited and be running a legal EU business from your laptop within a week. Over 100,000 people from more than 165 countries already have. Estonia took the one thing it had gotten unbelievably good at, government itself, and sold access to it as a product. Step back. Estonia decoupled a country from its borders. It turned good government into something you subscribe to from anywhere. A nation of 1.3 million built a digital territory with citizens across the whole globe, and no army took that ground. They just built something so good, the world wanted to log in. But here's the catch about betting your whole country on the internet. It makes you efficient and powerful, and a target unlike any country before you. In spring 2007, Estonia found out exactly what that meant, becoming the victim of the first full-scale cyber attack ever launched against a nation-state. And it started, of all things, with a statue. In April 2007, the government moved a Soviet World War II memorial, the Bronze Soldier, from central Tallinn to a military cemetery. To ethnic Estonians, it symbolized Soviet occupation. To the large Russian-speaking minority, it was sacred. Moving it lit a fuse. 2 nights of rioting, 1 person dead, more than 150 arrested, the Bronze Night. Then it jumped online. From April 27th, a coordinated wave of attacks flooded government sites, parliament, banks, and broadcasters until they went dark. A country that had just moved its entire life online watched that life get switched off. As many as 1 million hijacked computers across 175 countries aimed at a nation of 1.3 million. Now, I want to be honest, because here the story gets slippery. Almost everyone blames Russia. The timing matched the Kremlin's fury, and most of the traffic traced back to Russian sources. But here's what I can't tell you, that the Russian government gave the order. Moscow denied it, refused to cooperate, and hard proof has never been nailed down. Only one person, an ethnic Russian student living in Estonia, was ever convicted. It looks and smells exactly like a state attack, but can't quite be proven as one. And honestly, that ambiguity is the entire point of this kind of warfare. To survive, Estonia did something drastic. It partly cut itself off from the internet until the flood stopped. The attacks raged about 3 weeks, then ended. But the lesson it took is pure Estonia. Instead of retreating, it doubled down and became the world's leading expert on defending against exactly this. In 2008, NATO put its Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence in Tallinn, and the rulebook the world now uses, the Tallinn Manual, is named after Estonia's capital. What nearly destroyed them became what they're respected for. So by now you might think Estonia has basically solved government, and everyone else is just lazy. This is where I pump the brakes, because the shiniest success story on earth has cracks the brochures never mention, and stopping at digital utopia wouldn't be honest. So, what does it actually cost to bet your whole country on code? The first crack is obvious: total dependence. When your whole country runs on one system, that system is a single, terrifying point of failure. Estonia has already had its scare. In 2017, researchers found a flaw in the chip inside its ID cards that could, in theory, let someone clone a digital identity. Almost overnight, the government had to remotely freeze and rebuild the certificates on hundreds of thousands of cards. They caught it in time, but when your identity is code, a single bug can put a whole nation at risk. The second crack is quieter: trust. Estonia's model asks citizens to hand nearly everything, health, finances, identity, to the state system. It works because Estonians, for now, trust their government to handle it honestly and log every access. But that's a very particular social contract, and it doesn't travel. Give that same all-seeing infrastructure to a government that isn't transparent, and the exact tools that make Estonia efficient become the surveillance machine of a dictator's dreams. And that's the thing I most want to push back on. The standard take is, Estonia proves every country should just do this. I don't buy it, because the secret was never the technology. Any rich country could buy the same servers and coders. What Estonia had was a once-in-history moment. A blank slate, a tiny population, a desperate urgency to escape Russia's shadow, and rare public trust. The tech was the easy part. The trust and the timing are what almost nobody can copy. So just be like Estonia gets it exactly backwards. They're trying to buy the software when the thing that mattered was never for sale. None of this cancels the achievement. It frames it. Estonia built something miraculous, on foundations of trust, urgency, and a clean slate most countries don't have and can't manufacture. You can download the code. Estonia gives it away. But the reason it works? That's a much harder thing to ship. "30 years ago, Estonia was a bankrupt corner of a collapsed empire, where half the people had no phone line. Today, it's where the world sends its officials to learn what a government could be. It turned an empty treasury into an advantage, a cyber attack into an expertise, and its own bureaucracy into a product. So here's where I land. The Estonian miracle isn't really a story about technology. It's a story about what becomes possible when a country is desperate enough, small enough, and trusting enough to build the future from scratch, with nothing left to protect. The tech is only the visible part, the nerve to bend the old playbook, and the trust that lets citizens hand over their lives. That's the part that did the work. The hardest thing to copy about Estonia was never on a screen, and that's what makes it more than a tech story, my friends. Estonia is the closest thing we've got to a glimpse of what every government might one day become. Not because it had the most money, but because it was cornered enough to build it first. And the funny part? It's been telling everyone exactly how, out loud, for 20 years. Most countries just aren't built to listen. Estonia is the story of a tiny country that had nothing and turned it into everything by bending the rulebook the rest of the world was still following. But it's not the only place that pulled off that trick. On the opposite side of the planet is another small country the world underestimates for a living. You picture it as sheep, mountains, and Lord of the Rings scenery, a sleepy little postcard. But back in 1984, New Zealand ran the most radical free market experiment in the entire democratic world. In a single afternoon, one man hit the reset button on the whole economy. And this sheep farming nation quietly invented a system that now runs inside the central bank, setting your mortgage rate. That video breaks down how they did it, what it cost, and why almost nobody talks about it. It's on the channel right now. Go watch it.